What is going on, guys? It is Wrestlegamia here, back with some more wrestling video game content. Our fans had high hopes for WWE Smackdown vs Raw 2008, but it had the tough task of following the much acclaimed Smackdown vs Raw 2007, a game to which this very day some fans say is one of the greatest wrestling games of all time, or at least in your top 5. The only way WWE could improve on the prior installment was having a better roster and ironing out any minor issues within the gameplay, as well as having all the updated arenas and attires. But the 2008 installment was met with mixed reviews. Some fans felt the game failed to deliver, while others questioned how it could even attempt to follow the legendary 2007 edition of the game. But whether you think the game is good or bad, there is numerous Easter eggs and random bits of trivia in the game that make the game a fascinating installment to the franchise to look in at depth. So with that being said, here are 10 Smackdown vs Raw 2008 hidden Easter eggs, trivia and secrets. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos, and follow our other channels Wrestlegamia and Incredible for more videos. Number 1. The first appearance of the ECW brand. A Smackdown vs Raw 2008 was the first installment to the franchise to officially include ECW as a third brand. There were initial discussions whether to have the title renamed to Smackdown vs Raw vs ECW, but instead it was decided that featuring ECW was the best way to market the inclusion of the Extreme brand for the first time. Number 2. The removal of Chris Benoit. Now, most of us are well aware of the circumstances surrounding the Chris Benoit incident, and as a result, WWE removed all mention of him from the history books and vowed never to mention his name on WWE television ever again. Since development of the game started well before the incident, Chris Benoit was going to be a fully playable character in the game. But since the game was in early development during the time of the incident, THQ was able to remove him from the game. Many had thought that his removal would cause the game to be delayed even further, but they still managed to get it out for the holiday season. Now, there doesn't seem to be any legit footage of Benoit in the game. However, there are a few screenshots that have circulated from time to time which look to be a hack to put him in the game. However, we don't think THQ was foolish enough to leave his code in the game. By the way, it's also interesting to see that from these screenshots, Ron Van Dam's model could be accessed. As some of us know, RVD quit the company well before the game's release. Number 3. Tommy Dreamer was the ECW general manager in the game. The GM mode of the Smackdown vs Raw series was one of the most popular features of the series. Fans loved creating their own roster and armchair booking the perfect pay-per-view card. And what was interesting about Smackdown vs Raw 2008 was that in the game, they would have Tommy Dreamer act as the general manager of the ECW brand. However, on television at the same time as the game's development and release, Armando Estrada would be the GM of the Extreme brand. Why WWE decided to opt for Dreamer to be the GM for ECW for the game is pretty unclear, but perhaps it was because Dreamer was more synonymous with the ECW brand compared to Armando. Therefore, they felt it would make more logical sense to use Dreamer in the role. Number 4. Eddie Guerrero, Sergeant Slaughter and Jim Neidhart are exclusives. It was extremely common for WWE to provide console-exclusive bonuses for different platforms during this time. For the 2008 installment of the game, the PSP version would come with Sergeant Slaughter and Jim Neidhart. However, that wasn't all. To try and attract fans to buy the PSP version, it also exclusively came with the legendary Eddie Guerrero, which no doubt drove sales of the PSP version of the game. Number 5. Most legends are priced at $210,000 to unlock, with the exception of the McMahon family and JBL. Now, most legends in the game can be unlocked by completing a series of challenges as part of the story mode of the game. These challenges traditionally involve beating the particular legend in a matchup, and this allows them to be unlocked for future uses. However, the catch is that you would still have to buy the wrestler even when you've unlocked them with the money earned in the game. All legends in the game such as The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Mick Foley and even Sabu would be priced at $210,000 to unlock. However, JBL, Vince McMahon and Shane McMahon would be priced at the much lower $110,000. It's still unclear why these particular superstars were priced much lower, especially Vince McMahon, as who wouldn't want to unlock the boss in these games? Number 6. WWE Video Game Debuts. In relation to the roster on the game, talent such as Ashley Massaro, Elijah Burke, Kelly Kelly, and MVP made their WWE video game debuts. But Sabu, Sandman, Marcus Corvan, and Kenny Dykstra all made their first and only appearances in a WWE game, as by the time the 2009 installment of the game was released, all 4 talents would no longer be with the company. Number 7. The first SmackDown vs. Raw game available on mobile. Developed by Byte Games, SmackDown vs. Raw 2008 was the first game in the series to be playable on mobile. Well, kind of. The gameplay was stripped down to the bare bones of normal or hardcore one-on-one matches, but at least you could play with some of the biggest superstars in the WWE at the time. Edge, Snitsky, Randy Orton, Rey Mysterio, Shawn Michaels, Kane, Bobby Lashley, Marcus Corvan, Triple H, Batista, John Cena, and The Undertaker were all playable. Not a bad roster in all fairness. Number 8. You could buy Vince McMahon bald. The 2008 installment of the franchise managed to include numerous extra attires that you could buy throughout the game. Popular attire additions included Triple H and Shawn Michaels having their DX attire as well as their traditional one. One of the more surprising and humorous additions was the inclusion of a bald Vince McMahon who would act as an alternative attire. By the time of the game's release, McMahon's hair had virtually all grown back following his loss in the Battle of the Billionaires match, but it was nevertheless a really cool extra for fans of the WWE product at the time. Number 9. Jonathan Coachman was the GM of Raw in the game. There was an initial dilemma with the developers of SmackDown vs. Raw 08 as to who should undertake the role of GM of Raw for the game. At the time of the game's development stages, there actually wasn't an active GM of Raw. Towards the tail end of the development, Jonathan Coachman became GM of Raw for around 6 weeks, which is why Coachman is included in the game as GM of Raw. Fans were quick to point out at the time, however, that this was out of date extremely quickly, as Coachman didn't last long in the role by the time the game was finally released. William Regal would take over as GM of the show, a role which he would remain in for almost 1 full calendar year. To the shock of many fans, this was the last WWE game to ever include GM mode as an element of the game, this despite fans wanting it back for over a decade. And number 10, the first game to set tables on fire. One of the most popular features of the game was the Extreme Rules match feature. As part of the match type, you had the ability to set weapons such as kendo sticks and tables on fire. This initially launched some confusion when the game was released, as fans didn't realize that the feature was exclusive to the Extreme Rules match itself and they wouldn't be able to use it in any other match type. However, fans would be able to set a table or kendo stick on fire when they had a full momentum meter, which would lead to some very extreme moments. But there you have it, guys. 10 WWE Smackdown vs. Raw 2008 hidden Easter eggs, trivia, and secrets. What did you guys think of the game? Let us know in the comments down below. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling video game content.